Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Situation update for today's May 3rd. 2022. We'll start with the notes. The trial for the crimes against humanity has begun. The penalty for violation of the Nuremberg Code is death. Now in U.S. Army Red Phase Week 0. With the global currency reset officially rolled out on Sunday 1 May, we expected Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, to be notified to set redemption exchange appointments by late morning WED. 4 May to start appointments on Wednesday 4 May or Thursday 5 May, according to Bruce. Canada has testing of the emergency broadcast system scheduled for. Wait for it. 4 May. In 1 week the regime falls and our legitimate President Trump returns. President Q. Mon. 2 April 2022. Summer will be on fire. Put your spiritual hat on and prepare for it with extra food, water, supplies, white hats. Barricades are set up around the U.S. Supreme Court building after a draft decision was leaked indicating that the court to overturn Roe v. Wade. Military tribunals are now being conducted in Guam. Prison barges are arriving daily with high-level elites who will face trials and executions. Illegals flooding our border. Skyrocketing gas prices. Crippling inflation. The brink of war. A. Crime. Bombshell report. Russian oligarch Vladimir Yevtushenkov with close ties to Putin met with Hunter in Moscow over potential investment deal before meeting twice more in NY and DC. Yevtushenkov is now sanctioned by the UK, but not the US. Clarence Thomas' wife told Mark Meadows that the crime family would be living in barges off Gitmo to face military tribunals for sedition. B. Mass arrests. U.S. Marshal-led operation sees over 700 arrested in Mississippi. E. Russia-Ukraine war. Canadian General Trevor Cadier was arrested while trying to escape from Azovstal and taken to Moscow to stand trial. He was in charge of Biolab No. 1, where 18 people worked. In Melitopol, liberated by the Russian troops, the new city administration cancelled all debts of citizens for public services. This measure of support for the population was announced back in March. Us can't arm Taiwan anymore because everything is being vacuumed into Ukraine. By invading Ukraine, Putin has successfully bankrupted the deep state. Bridge near Odessa through which Western weapons were being supplied to Ukraine was completely destroyed. 8 years ago today on May 2, 2014, Ukrainian radicals murdered at least 42 people in Odessa for the crime of being Russian. They burned them alive. They had tacit approval from the government, no one was punished. From that day on, it was clear that war had become inevitable. The war in Donbass had barely started. After May 2, 1,000 of volunteers from Odessa, Russia joined the militias. Ukrainian social networks were full of funny videos of people jumping to their deaths to escape the fire. Restaurants added vatnik shashlik to their menus. Young girls poured the Molotov cocktails that lit the trade union house on fire. Ukrainian politicians joked about the traditional May barbecue for years. People who were involved in the massacre are now popular bloggers, pundits, advisors, military leaders. Ukraine holding citizens as human shields, 300 people. Maybe a bit more, I guess. The citizen, who is from the adjacent neighborhoods of Azovstal, assumed that there were about 300 people on the factory premises. He also told that Nazis threatened people with violence if they tried to leave the bunker. Several hundred peaceful people are still held captive there, behind whom the Ukrainian fighters ruthlessly hide. F. Global financial crisis. Some central banks are reporting losses. We are now seeing flash crashes. The sad part? The Federal Reserve has only raised interest rates 25 basis points so far. Wikipedia to stop accepting crypto donations. Warren Buffett says he wouldn't take all the Bitcoin in the world for $25. Assets to have value, they have to deliver something to somebody. Swiss National Bank opposed to holding Bitcoin as a reserve currency. But from the current perspective, we do not believe Bitcoin meets the requirements of currency reserves. That's why we have until now decided not to have Bitcoin on our balance sheet. Benjamin Fulford. while Deutsche Bank was searched by the German police. According to MI6 sources, this made it impossible for KM to launder fiat money into the real economy through the stock and bond markets. That's why the stock prices of Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Tesla and Amazon have fallen by 11, 22, 16, 29 and 30%, respectively, compared to their peak values. If the Khazar Mafia loses the ability to create money out of nothing to finance their plan to enslave humanity, then the game is really over for them. Without money, they can't pay for their thugs, celebrities and actors pretending to be politicians. The real news for Mon. 2 May 2022. Mon. 2 May Q post on Telegram. Watch the water. White hats are in control. Be ready 5.5? We thank you for your service, Q. German Interior Minister Nancy Faeser has made recommendations to citizens to stock up on food for 10 days. As the war in Ukraine rages and market and supply chain concerns grow around the world, Germany's Interior Minister has called on the country's citizens to take precautions to prepare for a crisis. Consider, for example, the possibility of cyber attacks on important infrastructure, she told the Handelsblatt newspaper. Inside the term agreements lay the insidious plan to completely track your bank accounts and even body movements, temperature readings, record all your conversations, track all computers, emails, private messages and a lot more. Likely to be charged with treason for deliberately creating food shortages through the calculated destruction of over a dozen agricultural processing facilities across the United States in the last few months, one of which occurred today Mon. 2 May, but was censored from the news. The new Starlink satellite system was much more than internet. It controlled the quantum financial system including the rollout of Gesera, plus acted as a military particle beam weapon with the ability to control the world grid. The Ukraine war was bankrupting the deep state. The U.S. corporation was already bankrupt, causing central banks across the globe, along with the U.S. Congress, White House, IRS, Feds and Federal Reserve to be or were in the process of shutting down. Inside the term agreements lays the insidious plan to completely track your bank accounts and even body movements, temperature readings, record all your conversations, track all computers, emails, private messages and a lot more. Elon Musk just bought Instagram, after acquiring Twitter and Pepsi, plus owning the new Starlink satellite system. Wonder if there's a connection? Deep state controls your food supply, Corey Lin. The new controlled food system is already in place, and they will stop at nothing to accelerate their control. The future of the food system. Whoever controls the food supply controls people. Whoever controls energy can control entire continents. Whoever controls the money can control the world. This famous quote by Henry Kissinger sounds more and more true every week. Globalists already control most of the money, are moving forward very quickly to transform the energy system and are taking decisive measures to control the food industry, while at the same time managing most of it unnoticed. If they control seeds, they control food, and if they control food, they can use a digital identifier to control consumer access to food. While a series of fires suddenly destroys food, meat and fertilizer processing plants, at a time when farmers are suffering and supply chain problems arise. Imagine a day when there are no more farmers' markets, you can't drive up to a local farmer to buy groceries or pieces of meat, and the only food, grown outside the globalists, protected by indoor vertical farming and laboratory meat production facilities, is on your windowsill, garden or greenhouse. The indoor vertical farming industry was estimated at $5.5 billion in 2020 and is projected to reach $19.86 billion by 2026. The urban economy in enclosed spaces controlled by globalists is the future of food, which they have rethought, and it is already in thousands of grocery stores, and people do not realize it. While the U.S. is leading the industry, it's a global agenda with vertical farms popping up all over the world. In the future, the new Bowery farming facility in Arlington, Texas, will be able to serve 16 million people within a 200-mile radius. This is just one of dozens of vertical farming companies with huge facilities across the country supported by large investors. Over the past few months, more than a dozen large food and meat factories have accidentally caught fire. Union Pacific is demanding a 20% reduction in rail transportation, which will affect CF Industries Holdings, the world's largest fertilizer company. Vanguard, BlackRock and State Street are the largest shareholders of Union Pacific, and BlackRock and Vanguard are among the 3 largest shareholders of CF Industries Holdings. It becomes obvious that this is a global control plan for all products, ingredients that are included in all food products. The food industry has already been monopolized by 10 companies, the main shareholders of most of which are Vanguard and BlackRock. What happens when they control all the seeds, products and meat? What happens when food and meat are grown in protected areas after splicing or in a petri dish, and agricultural land becomes inactive due to excessive regulations, lack of materials and artificial inflation? In 2014, under the Obama administration, Congress established the Food and Agriculture Research Foundation, FFAR, Act through the Farm Bill, which eventually created a nonprofit organization outside of government with an initial capital of $200 million with the support of Bill Gates. This fund will use public and private resources to expand scientific and technological research, innovation, and partnerships critical to the development of America's agricultural economy. April 2, 2019, FFAR announced the creation of the Precision Indoor Plants (PIP) Consortium, a public-private partnership consisting of producers, breeders and genetic companies, including AeroFarms, BASF, Benson Hill Biosystems, Fluence Bioengineering, Green Venus. Their focus is on 5 key crops: lettuce, tomatoes, strawberries, cilantro and blueberries, with the aim of promoting accelerated reproduction and changing the chemicals produced by plants. Money began to pour into the new future of food, the urban vertical closed economy, where, as they claim, all the masses will eventually migrate. Bill Gates insists that droughts and climate change deprive us of the opportunity to engage in agriculture and that in the future the population will move to megacities where vertical indoor farming is necessary in order to feed people. If so, why did he acquire 242,000 acres of farmland over the past decade while investing in indoor vertical farming at the same time? Who can sit at a table with healthy food served by Gates, while the rest of the population eats foods with edited from enclosed spaces that are delivered to their local grocery store and accessible only through a digital ID? Meanwhile, the Advisory Group for International Agricultural Research, CGIAR, owns the world's largest private seed banks, consisting of 10% of the world's germplasm worldwide, which are controlled by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Rockefeller, Ford Foundations and the World Bank, managing 768,576 seed samples. As soon as the future of food through vertical farming took root, by August 2020, Monsanto, Bayer and Singapore's sovereign wealth fund Temasek launched a $30 million startup called Unfold, which is developing new varieties of vegetable seeds adapted for vertical farms. Bayer has licensed the rights to germplasm seeds from its vegetable portfolio. By 2021, they had leased a 12,000-square-foot laboratory research building in Davis, California. Vertical farms are taking over the world. Founded in 2014, Plenty is a privately held company headquartered in San Francisco, California. They use hydroponics to grow leafy greens. Plenty serves more than 430 Albertsons supermarkets in California, including Safeways and Vons, with businesses in Compton and San Francisco. In 2020, the company entered some Whole Foods Market supermarkets in the Bay Area. The company's goal is to build 500 vertical farms in densely populated urban areas around the world. The company has raised more than $940 million from 13 investors, including Bezos Expeditions. Alex Jones knows Flynn took the QWWG1WGA oath. But still in his interview did not ask Flynn about Q, the one question a real journalist would ask? As Flynn is a main character in the Q drops? And a leader of the digital soldiers. Hitler was a Rothschild pawn. Israel is last, Balfour Declaration. Death to Zion, Nazi collaboration #Operation Z. Mossad did 9/11 sanctioned by the Queen of England. Queen owns Saudi Intel as well. Saudi was flipped in 2017 but it started in 2012. The current fake admin were Zionists and they were helping Nazis in Ukraine. Gonna help understand WW12 Declis, the Nazi-Zionist collaboration. M. Unplugging from the Matrix starts here. Whiplash 347. 1855 ISIS formed by Senussi family linked 2 UK royals, Khazarians. 1861 merged with 322 skull and bones, Khazarians. 1870-1930, Big Pharma, Khazarians. 1871 Act of England. Secret constitution placed by secret societies, Khazarians. 1912 Titanic, Olympic sinking. Who was on board? What really happened? Those who opposed the Federal Reserve killed. 1913 Federal Reserve, Khazarians. 1917 The Balfour Declaration was a public statement issued by the British government 1917 during the First World War. Rothschilds, Khazarians. 1917–1923 Bolshevik Revolution. 1940 McDonald's, Khazarians. 1945–1959 Operation Paperclip, Mockingbird. Khazarians. 1948 Israel formed, Khazarian, Bolshevik Gov. 1947 CIA formed, Khazarians. 1949 Mossad formed, Khazarians. 1963 JFK. I will splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds. 1967 Operation Mockingbird exposed. What happened next? Vietnam, Korean Wars. CIA supplying world with drugs to sedate them, satanic music, regime changes. Think Islamic regime in Iran, think Lima Agreement. N. White Hat Intel. Secret meetings in Sun Valley, Idaho with the CIA, Rothschilds, Vatican, Rockefeller, World Bank, Khazarian mafia machine. In attendance: Gates, Zuckerberg, Y.T. Wojcicki, Anderson Cooper, CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, NPR, Pichai, CIA, FBI heads, and around 200 mainstream media directors from across the world. Aside from the daily spirit cooking and human sacrifices to honor Moloch, the god of child sacrifice, in the underground room known as the Light Room, in homage to Luciferian light, the meetings consisted of the tech giants, which also included Anthony Fauci and members from NIAIH, CDC, NIH and WHO. The main topics: weather modifications, influence on climate change, influence on current U.S. and military operations taking place to arrest their world partners and coming seizures of companies, properties and assets, and a plan to avoid the military. Climate change in conjunction to control population and cause civil unrest. How to take complete control of the Internet and phones. How to release the newest program to cancel, data mine, affect financial online accounts of extremists. Military insider. Everything happening had to happen to catch them all inside the moments of the crime. What you see across the world, the riots, explosions, civil unrest, is being created by the deep state. These are their last moments of desperation to stay out of prison, or death squadron executions that are coming through the Nuremberg Code and crimes against humanity trials. Next week and into July, this chaos we will see throughout the world will be permitted by the military because of deep state's mistakes made in every country. They are trying to cover their tracks, but are really exposing elements and sleepers within their ranks. The military is now positioned in 80% of the world. Believe me, brother, the hammer is coming. Stay strong, patriots. Faith, pain,